Good evening, folks, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Pilot Review Show. I am Captain Blade J52, and I am joined this week by some of my merry band of misfit cohorts. We have everyone's favorite teacher of the Kirby variety.
Happy birthday to me. Hi,
What?
folks. Yes, tonight is my birthday.
What? Happy birthday to a pink fluff ball?
No, to a green corn and pink dress.
Same thing. Same thing.
Hey.
Same.
No, but actually, so okay. Here's
memories
a
already.
bit of irony. So to celebrate my birthday last night, Poe and I, my husband, went out to play some mini golf, and the mini golf place is blacklit. So I actually have the picture of me at the mini golf place as my avatar. Go ahead and click on that there, Mr. Darkblade. Click on my avatar.
What am I doing?
Or show my avatar. And you can see that in this picture, I do look like I'm pink.
Yeah, so for people that are going
Yeah.
to see that on stream.
So, when you go in blacklight and take a picture, you look pink. So there you go. Just in case you didn't know that. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. That was the thing I did for my birthday yesterday. Although my birthday's tonight, we celebrated yesterday. Anyway,
So you're what, like
I am celebrating the
905
20th
now?
anniversary of my 21st birthday. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
No.
So 905, got it.
Hey, come on. If my 8-year-old nephew can figure it out. No.
Uh-huh.
No. But yeah, actually, interesting fact, I'm the same age as Zeronius Rex. Her birthday's 3 days before mine.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
But yes, so we are both celebrating the 20th anniversary of our 21st birthdays. But moving along.
Move around along. Do, 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 do.
And on another note, we have
do.
Phenomena. We also have, buried knee-deep in a bottle of Romulan ale, everyone's favorite Neela of the Deton
Empire's
variety.
time has come. Hope cannot save them.
And there it is, folks. So yeah, it took us a while to get him out of that bottle of Romulan ale. That's why he's been kind of absent the past little while, but,
Well, for 2 weeks,
Anyway.
he just didn't want to come out. I mean, he was having a blast in there.
I mean, who could blame him? It's Romulan
Now,
ale.
I know why they fuck. It is illegal.
Well, you could have just asked Orf. I mean, he would have told you.
Well, who do you think
I
gave
know.
him the bottle in the first
What
place?
was so fun?
But, anyways, we've got some pretty interesting stuff and some big news that got announced this week that we're going to get to towards the end of our show. But for now, let's go ahead and dive into this stuff. And in case people are wondering, yes, I did slightly update the bridge of my ship a little bit. This is actually the Triumph bridge. Everything, I just thought it fit the ship better. But, anyways, getting started, we have the Allied Pilot Escort Bundle coming to the consoles. This is the stuff like the Tier 6 Andorian ships, the Lethian ships, and the Daewon ships, which these do have the pilot maneuvers, which some of you may remember if you've played with the pilot ships. So, very fun stuff that you can do with these. You can see some of our engineering variants and everything here, and really quickly we'll look over the engineering variants. They pretty much, actually they all have the same stats, I believe. So, you start out picking them up at level 50, everything, either Vice Admiral or Lieutenant General, depending on your faction. Can have one of them per faction. They start out with a hull modifier of 1.02, so 30,060 at, or 30,600 at level 40, and then 40,800 at level 60. That is the starting base hull strength. Shield modifier 1.1. They are a 5.2 weapons layout, and then 2 device slots. Then for your bridge officer stations, you have a commander tactical / pilot, ensign engineering, lieutenant commander engineering, lieutenant universal, and lieutenant commander universal. So fairly adaptable, I believe. 5 tactical, 4 engineering, 2 science, base turn rate of 16, impulse modifier of 0.2, 70 inertia, plus 15 to weapons and 5 to engines. Then they get the wing torpedo platforms universal console. They come with the experimental weapon slot equipped with the Alliance Hyper Cannon. Now that is the weapon that originally was supposed to be the 3 energy types in one, but got changed later down the road in its development cycle. You've got the Pilot Maneuver Ship Mechanic, and you have the Escort Mastery Package, which gives plus accuracy, plus defense, plus weapon damage, and plus critical chance. Then the Painful Memories Starship trait. Everything. We'll take a look at some of the traits and stuff down below. Then for your Admiralty or Admiralty stats, you have 36 Engineering, 26 Science, 55 TAC, and minus 25% maintenance per engineering ship. Is it problem, Kirby? Oh, I said Admiralty again, didn't I? See, she kind of gets annoyed when you say Admiralty and everything, you know?
Yes, it does.
Oh, yes, it totally does.
Just like the Lethian ship looks like a B-wing.
Well, that...
I didn't want to say that till later, but he already went there, so I guess we're going there.
Yeah, too bad it doesn't have the, quote-unquote Death Star laser that, Hera got to use.
No kidding. But, anyways, moving on to our, I think these are the science variants of the ship. Some of the major differences actually come in the bridge officer seating and everything. They are slightly different. But for the bridge officer seats, it's a commander tactical / pilot, ensign engineering, lieutenant commander science, then a lieutenant universal, lieutenant commander universal, console layout of 5 TAC, 2 engineering, 4 science. Then these ships get the improved gravity well. It's their starship trait. We'll take a look at those in a minute. And then the variants on the Admiralty ship stats, their special is minus... or Admiralty, yes. Minus 25% maintenance per size ship. And then I'm kind of skimming over some of these stats because they are virtually the same on all of the ships, so there's no point in reading them multiple times, I don't think. Then, for the final ones, these are the tactical variants. For their bridge officer seating, you have a lieutenant commander tactical, a commander tactical / pilot, a ensign engineering, lieutenant universal, and lieutenant commander universal. And you have 5 tactical, 3 engineering, 3 science as far as the console layout. Then this one gets the Promise of Ferocity starship trait, and its Admiralty special is minus 25% maintenance per TAC ship. So that's the big thing that we get there. Then as far as the torpedo platforms go, it provides a passive boost to critical hit chance with projectile weapons and critical hit severity with projectile weapons. And then whenever you activate it and everything, periodically fires a torpedo at the target. The little platform it spawns does. And then when activating any rank of torpedo spread, it'll apply torpedo spread to the platforms. Or if you activate a high yield, it will activate a high yield 1 to the platform. Then for the Gateway Trap Spawner, it provides a passive boost to scientific readiness and control expertise, creates a gateway trap within 2 kilometers of foe, and exit gateway near location. Each one lasts 10 seconds. All foes within 5 kilometers of gateway trap are pulled, slowed, and suffer kinetic damage each second. Foes pulled within 0.2 kilometers of gateway trap will teleport to the exit gateway, and all systems will be offline for 4.5 seconds. Then, for the final console, it's the Neurophasic Disruption Field. It provides a passive boost to flight speed and resistance to slow effects, once per second for 10 seconds, affecting up to 10 foes within 5 kilometers of the target. They suffer electrical damage, confuse for 1 second, and a 20% chance to disable for 1 second. The console set bonus is Alliance Dogfighters. Equipping multiple of the aforementioned consoles on a single ship grants set bonuses. The 2 pieces is the Predictive Maneuvering, which is increased accuracy and flight speed, and the 3-piece is Streamlined Circuitry, reduced recharge time on Allied Escort console abilities, and wing platforms will utilize rank 2 of high yield and spread instead of rank 1. And then the starship traits. Painful Memories says trait causes a psionic energy resonance within the EPS of enemy ships when activating any foe affecting engineering buff power. This is reflected by an energy or a electrical damage over time effect. It also slows the affected foe's engines, which is a minus 50% flight speed and electrical damage each second that deals 100% shield pen. Then comes one of the personal favorites of mine and Kirby's, is the Improved Gravity Well. It says, while this trait is slotted, your gravity well anomalies last twice as long and recharge much faster. In addition, the primary targeted foe targeted by your gravity well activation will have their damage resistance rating reduced for the duration of the anomaly. So the duration is increased from 20 seconds to 40 seconds, recharge time reduced by 20 seconds, primary target suffers a minus 20 all damage resist rating for 40 seconds. And the last one is the Promise of Ferocity. While this starship trait is slotted, activating any tactical or pilot bridge officer powers will provide a bonus damage buff as long as you remain in combat once every few seconds. Buff can stack up to 5 times, but all stacks are lost immediately upon leaving combat. You get a plus 4% bonus all damage with starship weapons for the duration of combat, max once per 4 seconds, 5 stacks maximum, all stacks lost if combat ends. Now that is a Cat 2 bonus, and everything from the way that it reads, bonus all damage, and everything, so yeah, that is 20% bonus, which is a pretty hefty sized bonus, and everything, which
yes,
I'm sure
it
Kirby,
is.
whenever I'm doing reading here in a second, can explain a little bit more about Cat 2 and stuff, but touch really quickly on the hyper cannon and everything, and then get thoughts from you guys. It says this weapon was developed jointly between engineering teams from the Federation, Klingon Empire, and Romulan Republic. Design disagreements led to multiple energy types vying for inclusion in the final stage. Rather than scrap it, when the engineers failed to agree on this aspect of the weapon, they worked together to allow the weapon to utilize all simultaneously. It said, this has resulted in an amalgamated projectile that closely resembles raw radiation across multiple volatile wavelengths. The weapon fires in a 360-degree arc and has a chance of causing the additional effects associated with the energy types primarily used by the 3 factions. So it has a phaser subsystem offline effect, disruptor damage resistance rating debuff, and a plasma damage over time effect. And can be upgraded like any other standard experimental weapon or swapped out. So yeah, that's some of the main stuff going along and everything here. I kind of skimmed
so you
much
wanted
as I could
me
on this
to
one.
explain Cat
But,
1 and Cat 2 damage?
Thoughts from you guys?
Differences?
Yes, touch base on why Promise of Ferocity is such a big deal for our folks out there.
Cat 1 damage, or Category 1 damage, is basically take your weapon, bring it down to the lowest mark and lowest rarity possible. And that is the multiplier used for whatever is Category 1 when it multiplies your damage. So say you have and I'm Not saying consoles are Cat 1, but I'll use it as an example. Say you have a console that is Cat 1 and gives 40% damage. It's not 40% of whatever you see after you do your power and you know, all of that. It's 40% of that weapon at its lowest mark and lowest rarity. Okay? And that's added to it, right? So if you stack 5 of those consoles, it's 40, it's, you know, that same thing. So if the weapon does 100 damage at lowest mark and lowest rarity, you're then adding 40. So every time you add a console, you're adding 40 to that, right? Make sense? You're adding to your base damage. That's Cat 1. Cat 2 does its multiplier after all of the Cat 1 bonuses have been applied. Okay? So if you have a weapon that's 100 base damage, you've put 5 consoles that add 40% damage. So add 100 plus 40 times 5 is what, 200? Yeah, plus 200. So
200.
now you're doing 300 is now your new multiplier. Assuming that's all the Cat 1 bonuses you have. Make sense? So it's, when you look at Cat 2, it's all your Cat 1 bonuses plus this. Or is now the new multiplier for whatever this is. So when it multiplies the 4%, it does it on whatever your damage total is after it adds the Cat 1.
Yep. So you're looking at a 20% all damage bonus. So that would be 20% of the 300 using Kirby's hypothetical numbers. So that's a very big deal, and that's the reason why I wanted her to touch base on that for you guys.
From 20% of 300 versus 20% of the 100, which would be the hypothetical base damage.
Yep.
Which would be a Cat 1.
Yep.
Makes sense? I hope that made sense to everybody out there.
But yeah, like I said, I just wanted her to touch base on that and everything. But yeah, any other thoughts on our ships, guys?
I am still saving to get these, especially for the improved gravity well for my science builds. Because, basically, you can have pretty much a constant gravity well with that improved gravity well trait. Because now the gravity well lasts 40 seconds. By reducing the cooldown by 20 seconds, now the cooldown's only 40 seconds. So, yeah.
Yeah, anyways, that's...
Yeah, so I'm waiting for that.
Our allied escort ships. We'll have a link in the notes so you can check this blog out and everything. I highly encourage you guys to look them over and everything. If you were a fan of the original T5s and everything and whatnot, you'll definitely enjoy these and everything. But definitely encourage console players to check these out, because the original T5 Andorian escorts on their own are very nasty in the day, and these are equally on par with those, if not better. But, moving along, how Quark became a fully realized Ferengi on Deep Space Nine.
So this was actually a pretty interesting interview. It talks about how Quark actually started in playing Ferengis in Next Gen, in the episode The Last Outpost, where we first see Ferengis. And it's actually quite interesting. Ferengis were not meant to be what they ended up being. But I'm not going to spoil what they thought they were going to be at first. But you'll have to read the interview. But yeah, it was a very in-depth interview. I did find it interesting, some of the insights that he had. But definitely a good read, and I recommend it. And it does say at the end that this is He's being interviewed because he's joining the cast of Star Trek Online for the Victory is Life expansion coming out in June, which we'll talk more about later.
Indeed. But we will have a link in the notes for you guys so you can read this interview. We don't really want to spoil too much for those that may wish to read it themselves and everything. But moving along, we have a double XP weekend for PC.
Yep. That said, the double XP weekend is here from the 22nd to the 26th to get any characters that we have that are not at max level up to max level in time for the new expansion.
Indeed. But one thing that we would advise, or at least I know I've had good success with this, I think Kirby has too. If you're looking to get some of those characters up to 60 really quickly, you don't really like grinding through all the episodes and everything, there is another way. Once you've gotten to at least,
11.
I think it's level 12 is when we unlock the duty officer system, or level 11. Anyways, level 11, when you unlock the duty officer system and everything, you can pick up some of the little duty officer assignments, such as the temporal assignments from the Infinity Lockbox, or some of the TOS assignments and everything. Yeah. You can complete these. Yeah, there's a bunch of different flavors. There's Mirror Universe, TOS, Temporal, quite a few actually. Everything you can pick from. You can do those duty officer assignments, and you'll get a fairly nice chunk of XP normally anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But on the average character and everything, without the weekend, you're looking at maybe 2 or 3 levels and everything off of just one of those assignments, roughly. But during the XP weekend, that's an even greater payout. I know in a span of about,
sounds about right,
16 hours, I ended up getting about 3 characters to level 60 the last time they brought one of these around.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Of course, I had some of those things stocked back, but, yeah. But, definitely check those out and everything. This is also a good time to farm out some of those spec points. Everything, catch up on some of those if you haven't. But yeah. It's not really too awful much to say about that, but this will be running until the 26th, so definitely get out there, farm that XP out for those characters, farm them spec points, whatever it is you're after. But, anyways, we will have a link so you can check that out. Moving along, we have the PC patch notes for the 22nd, and there's actually not a lot of them. There's actually only really 3. And one of which that they're going to get a real kick out of when I read that. The first one is reflectivity on the latinum material on the Negus Marauder. It's been adjusted to improve the export output for 3D printing. Added XP weekend event for 322, and then added an Alachi weekend event for 329. However, I paraphrased slightly, but weekend is very badly misspelled there to weaned, or W-E-E-N-E-D. Whoopsies! And for the record, I did point it out and everything. They don't care on this one.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah, whatever.
They figure we're smart enough to understand.
Yep. I don't know, Neela being that deep into Romulan Ale, I'm not sure that's a safe assumption.
My peanut gallery over here, Poe goes, nope.
Yeah.
As soon as I said it. As soon as we're smart enough to figure it, nope. So Poe does not have much faith in the STO.
Well, at least he's honest about it.
He's just being a smart aleck.
Well, I mean, considering our
mean, he's
crew
married to
And
me.
he's married to
wrong.
you,
Yeah,
so...
I know, right? If he's not a smartass, something's wrong.
And he's married to you, so he needs to be.
Just in self-defense, he needs to be. I should introduce you guys to his sister. I mean, if that isn't enough to develop a sarcastic, bit for self-defense, nothing is. She's worse than me.
Oh, jeez. That's a
Is.
scary thought, Neela.
Anyway.
But, anyways, that's our 3 little patch notes and everything. Not really a lot happened this week as far as patches. But, moving along, we have a 20%
Yes,
services
from
sale for
Thursday,
PC.
March 22nd until Monday, March 26th at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. 20% off, 20% sale off the services listed below. So now is the time, especially if you are a free-to-play account, to look at buying some of these things. For example, and I'm not going to read the whole list because it's rather a short list, so you can read some of that yourself. But good example of what to buy: energy credit cap increase, big thing to look at buying, as well as the account shared bank slots. That is another big thing to look at buying for you free-to-play players that do not have these normally. But other than that, you have, of course, your character slots, bank slots, bridge officers, captain rename and retrain tokens, as well as duty officer rosters, inventory slots, outfit slots, ship loadout, and ship slots and dry dock slots also available. And look, I said I wasn't going to read the list, and I did. Well, yeah.
Fail.
But anyway, definitely a good time to consider buying those essentials at the very least. Make sure you have your energy cap increased to 2 billion and your account shared bank slots so you can transfer things that are account bound from one character to another.
Yep.
Those are very, very handy, I would say must-haves.
Highly
Yes.
advise the energy credit cap increase. And even if it's just one row
Yep.
of account bank slots, that's something. So it's going to enable you to move those sponsorship tokens across your account.
Yep.
Because you
As
can't
well
mail
as share
them to
EC,
yourself.
you can move Endeavor boxes,
Yep.
you can move Phoenix upgrades,
Certain bits of
Omega
gear.
upgrades, bits of account bound. I mean, so many things that are just essential. You can now, with that account shared bank slots, you can now move them across the across characters within your account.
Just one thing to note. It's still bugged with the freighter call.
That I
was
have
supposed to
been
have been
using it with the
patched.
freighter call
I
since they
haven't.
said it was patched and haven't had a problem.
I haven't.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll check after this. But anyways, definitely check that out if you've been looking at buying certain services and everything, maybe increasing your DOF sizes, getting more bank slots, whatever it is. We're finally getting that energy credit cap increase. This is the time to do that. But, moving along, we have the Scylla and Charybdis Week 3 rewards for console.
Yes, we do. Again, like week 1 and 2, you get the featured episode weekly reward box. You get enhanced universal tech upgrade or a spec point box. Ghost, get out of here. No, I'm yelling at the
Yelling at
ghost.
the cat. Oh.
Anyway, with the 2-piece set that we got from the week 1, you get core damage systems, which increases phaser, disruptor, and plasma damage. With 3-piece set, you get extend range with the plasmatic retaliatory coronal injections, and extends the range of the energy siphoning field, which is actually pretty nice. And then with the 4-piece set, you get the manipulative energy siphon field. Modifies energy siphon to now additionally reduce foe turn rate by 33% and lower resistance by 15% while providing you with those bonuses.
Why do I hear screaming
That's
in the background?
either my cat or the
something
ghost fucking with me.
Would you like to
Yeah,
explain
please.
to them what you mean by that?
Well, number one, my house is haunted, and sometimes the ghost gets all giggly and wants to mess with me, and starts like just pushing stuff around. Or my cat wants to find a box and just start moving the box around if it's a small box.
I see.
Yeah, so just so people doesn't think he's crazy, I wanted him to explain that just a little bit, you know.
Crazier
Well,
than you? Crazier
what
than
you
you?
normally have to be to hang out with us.
Yeah.
And just because you know somebody in here is thinking it, who are you gonna call,
Not the
Neela?
Ghostbusters, that's for sure. I'm gonna call Scooby-Doo.
Would have gotten away with it too if not for the.
So, now
damn
here's the question. Now, are you going to also call Sam and Dean Winchester and
Yes.
everything since you're doing that crossover? You know?
And I'm gonna call Charmed.
Oh God.
I think he just wants hot women to come to the house.
And then and then
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I'm kind
then
of gathering that too.
I'm gonna go ahead and call Bill Murray. When he's playing now his
Oh God.
character in Zombieland.
I was gonna say, I thought you weren't calling the Ghostbusters.
I'm not.
Playing his character in
Yeah.
Zombieland, he says.
Alright.
So yeah, joking aside and everything, and hauntedness. Is that even a word? But all that aside and everything, we will have a link in the notes for you guys. You can check this out. Highly encourage you to pick the Captain's Specialization point,
Yes.
because you'll get more bang for your buck that way.
But before we
But, moving along,
move on, one thing I do want to say is if you don't use Energy Siphon, but you get this 4-piece set, I would recommend using Energy Siphon because having those bonuses that you get from draining the ship and from those 2-piece and 3-piece bonuses actually significantly increases the amount of damage you will do. Especially if you're a science.
indeed. But, anyways, moving along finally, we have STO headed to Destination Germany.
Yes,
I
it
believe
is.
that one is mine. But, anyways, captains, on April the 27th and April the 29th, STO will be at Destination Star Trek Germany. Everything. This is actually the EU community manager, Nevin Don, that posted this. And everything, it says, it's been a while since we attended a convention in Europe and we thought it was about time to come back. We're very happy to announce that Star Trek Online will be attending Destination Star Trek Germany from April the 27th to April the 29th of 2018. Destination Star Trek is the official Star Trek convention in Europe, and this year looks amazing. They've got over 25 actors from across all Star Trek attending, including STO alumni like Chase Masterson and two of our two of our newly announced cast members, Nana Vister, and
Renee
I never could
Auberjonois.
pronounce Renee's last name. Help me out, Kirk. Thank you. So, if he was to see that, I'm sorry, dude, I just can't pronounce your last name. But, now that we've announced our brand new expansion, Star Trek Online Victory is Life, we can't wait to talk about the new content with the community and Star Trek fans. So let's meet our European away team and Cryptic developers to get the latest update on Star Trek Online Victory is Life and have a fantastic Star Trek experience in, what is that, Dortmund, Germany. It says, we're looking forward to meeting all of you. Say hi to us at our booth and attend our panels during the weekend. Ask your questions directly to the devs in our away team. Meet with other Star Trek Online players and see what we have in store for you in Victory is Life and beyond. We'll update you with more details for Star Trek Online at Destination Star Trek Germany in a future blog. See
More deals
you
at
in
11.
Dortmund.
So yeah, they're going to Germany. Sounds like fun. Enjoy the bratwurst and the beer, right?
But going from that, we will let our resident bug hunter have this last blog, and as is with it, victory is life for the founders.
And he went there. Loktar Gar for the Horde. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong franchise.
With this Victory is Life, this is the announcement of our 4th expansion.
I said Blade.
Ah, sorry. Voluntold.
Apparently I have been voluntold
right?
that I'm reading this last one. That's perfectly fine. But, and they also include a YouTube video for this, which I'm not actually going to play over this, but you guys can check that out for yourself. The little trailer they gave us, and it's actually pretty good. So we finally have a rough guesstimate, or rough date in mind for our expansion, which will be coming in June. So you've got about roughly 3 months, a little less now at this point to go, and everything for this to come out. Star Trek Online is incredibly proud to announce our 4th major expansion, Victory is Life. Paying homage to fan-made Star Trek, or fan-favorite Star Trek Deep Space Nine, this brand new expansion will bring captains to the Gamma Quadrant and beyond. In a new story kicked off by the invasion of the mysterious Herc. Since you will be able to play as a brand new faction, the Jem'Hadar. Experience 6 new episodes in the Star Trek Online story and interact with 10 of the original cast members from Deep Space Nine. It says we're so excited to announce 4 of these actors for you here today, with more coming in the next few weeks. So our 2 favorites, Odo and Quark, will be returning as some of our big characters because, well, it wouldn't exactly be complete if we didn't have Quark
right?
to give Odo a hard time. Then we also have the return of Major Kira Nerys, who is coming back once more, and our favorite Klingon Martok. So, a couple of these characters we've already seen already make a appearance in the game. Whatnot, I believe this will actually be the first time that we're seeing Quark and Major Kira in the game, so very fun stuff in store.
They've also, I know it's not on this, but they have announced 2 other characters that will be joining this, and that's Garrick, Andrew Robinson, reprising Garrick, and Bashir, Dr. Bashir. So
Yep.
we will be seeing them as well, so we're just waiting for the other 4 to be announced.
Yep. And definitely do check out this blog and everything. It's got a decent little bit of stuff. Highly advise checking out the trailer. Now, the devs did do a stream over this, a live stream where they answered a few of the questions and everything that people would have, such as some of the things to do with the new Jem'Hadar faction. Now, currently, one thing I will say is the Jem'Hadar is the only species they have announced thus yet. So we don't know for sure 100% yet if we're going to be
Which
getting
we better get
Vorta
Vorta.
or changelings or things like that.
Because have you seen?
I hope we do.
What's her name?
Oh God,
Go again.
he has the hots for Boris.
Tell me you don't, Blade. And you don't?
I refuse to answer that question under the grounds that it will be used to incriminate me in a court of team speak.
Is it not true?
I refuse to answer that question under
Don't
the
make me
grounds
go
that
to
it will be
Kale.
used to
I
incriminate
will
me.
tell him to fire you.
I refuse to answer that question under the grounds it will be used to incriminate me, and I plead the fifth. No, I definitely agree. Yep, they did do a good job on Morris. But anyway. But anyways, that's some of what we have for this. Now, another thing I would make a note of for some people that have been kind of concerned about the expansion, keep in mind, this is the first info drop we actually have on the expansion. As we get closer to Victory is Life, they'll be releasing more information and everything. That's pretty much the way they've done with all their expansions so far. So, as we get closer and closer to the expansion, we'll get more information, that kind of stuff. So, it's looking like it's going to be very
And as
interesting.
lawyers would say, thank you. And Aaron says thank you too. Oh, he's actually still sulky. But it amuses me if I tell him I gave you fawning sympathy on his behalf.
Yep. Well, don't forget in this. I know,
I'm a little
right?
disturbed that he knows that line for
But
line.
in addition to the new cast members, this is going to raise the cap to 65 and introduce new queues, some new progression systems, and add a sector battle zone. Which, interesting.
Now, go ahead. Some of the things, because I did actually catch
I
the
caught-
I
I
don't
caught
think
it.
these two
Part of
guys
it.
did, so I guess I can
I
explain
caught part
that
of
just a
it.
little.
Yeah.
You caught part of it? Okay, good. So, from the way I understood how this is going to take place, is it's going to be in sector space itself, but the actual fighting is not, if that makes
Yeah.
any bit of sense. And everything, that's the way Jesse explained it. Now, the other big thing as far as some of this stuff goes, from the way it seems, is they're starting them out at level 60. You can go to level 65 with the Gem Hadar. So it seems like they're basically borrowing a page from WoW's playbook, and this will be the STO version of a hero class, so to speak. They start them at level 60, they go to 65, and everything. From what I've seen so far, and one thing I can confirm, they are not, and I repeat, are not, big bold caps, not doing Tier 6U or T7s this expansion. If anybody tells you otherwise, they are full of bullcrap. And I can bring up a direct quote from Ambassador Kale himself. They are not doing that.
Yeah.
I cannot emphasize that enough.
So that is rumor. It is
Everything.
bad rumor. That is not happening. No increase over Tier 6 ships. That's it. We're at Tier 6. We're not going up from there.
Yeah. Unless you hear something directly from them to ever state we're getting T6U or Tier 7, assume it is complete, utter bullcrap. And everything. Heck, that rumor's been
Oh, I
around since
know.
the start of Delta Rising, even at that point.
Tell your friends what I always tell these
And
guys.
everything, so.
You got a link for that?
Yep. But, anyways, that is one big rumor I can dispel right now, as far as that stuff goes. But I would invite you guys, come on the forums, maybe join the debate some bits and everything. Please do keep it civil to make my job a lot easier, and my fellow cohorts on the moderator team, because I would really, you know what I mean. Just keep it civil. But that's some of the big stuff. One of the other big things, it seems, is that, and they've not elaborated on this yet, and everything, exactly how much is going to be of each thing, But it appears so far that depending on what you pick, be it engineer, tactical, science, it appears, best I could understand anyway, that some of the certain specs, some of the R&D crafting stuff might be fully or even partially filled out depending on what you pick. Such as science, they may give you temporal operative already filled out because it has a lot of science-based powers. For engineers, as an example, they may give something like miracle worker and everything.
We don't know.
And I'm just
exactly
kind of spitballing.
the
I don't know
details
exactly.
Yet, yeah, that's an example.
Yeah. We don't know the exact details, and they really couldn't give much more than that at that particular point in time. So definitely encourage you guys to, watch the trailer, watch the stream and everything where they explain everything. There is a lot of good stuff to go with that. But, and the last thing that we did manage to get answered is, are they going to be giving us a free character slot and everything, like they have been for each major expansion, to create a Jim Hadar character? And so far, it's looking like the answer is yes, that they probably will do that and everything. They didn't say 100% for sure just yet and everything, because they didn't want to comment on that due to database limit sizes and all that kind of stuff, which I totally understand. But, yeah. Like I say, more blogs coming in the future and everything the closer we get. This is just round 1 of information releases. We'll get more stuff the closer we get. But anyways, that's our articles for this evening. Moving right along, we come to our budget build of the evening. And this is actually a requested build that we have. And this evening we actually have a Nihil Warbird. This is the Operations Miracle Worker Warbird, everything, or the engineering variant. I guess Nihil is how you say that, and everything. And
Nigel.
Like I say, we do, or Nigel.
Uh-huh.
I spelled it wrong in the
It's
save.
okay.
Whoopsie. But anyway, I blame the incredibly small print that they use for that. But anyway, for this particular ship and everything, this is one of our Miracle Worker variants. This is the engineering-based version and everything. I personally have been getting a lot of good luck out of my tactical Miracle Worker, and even had some pretty good luck with this one whenever I was flying it and everything. But as far as this particular ship goes, it is a mid-range build. For mid-range builds, we typically assume a maximum EC spending limit of 30 million EC, and enough dilithium to take one single item up to epic quality, and I actually forgot to save that in the builder and everything. Go ahead and do that. Do our console and everything, since that's the easiest one. But anyways, as far as our weapons go, in the front we have our Quantum Phase Beam Array and our Quantum Phase Torpedo. These are two of the big weapons from the Sunrise mission. If you're going to use phasers, this is a set you're definitely going to want to consider, if I get words today. I think the cat's knocked something over. But anyway, as far as our other forward weapons, we have two of the Crit D ×2 phasers. These come from the Everything Old is New mission and everything, so you can pick up those really easy. And the reason we're using these is because they're already very good mods that you're not going to have to re-roll everything. They're the best that you can get as far as baseline mods, just straight from the mission. For our rear weapons, we have three more of those types of phasers, and the omnidirectional phaser Omni from the Beyond the Nexus mission. Now, for this particular ship, to kind of mix it up a little bit, we actually went with the 4-piece Bajoran set this go-around. The user did complete the anniversary event, does have access to all 4 pieces of the Bajoran set. So in this case, we have the shields, the warp core, the engines, and the deflector, and everything. Now, the major bits, such as the shields, the engine, and the deflector, come from our Scylla and Charybdis mission, which is currently also the featured episode on console. And then the warp core actually comes from the Bajoran ship itself. Now, I do happen to have this set on me in-game. And what in the heck is that Gorn doing? Oh, God. And she's got it doing the Michael Jackson, go figure. Or the Thriller.
All I need is like 30 people behind me doing it too.
No, just no. No.
Okay,
No.
okay.
No, no.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
Or
There you go.
And yes, people, this is what I have to put up with on a regular basis. So anyway, continuing on to our sets and everything, for the Bajoran set and everything you can see here. Now I'm kind of showing this in game so I can show you guys the set bonuses and everything you're going to get. For the shields and everything, they start out at cap 3. This is one of the... Oh jeez, he's doing the Carlton. But anyway, for this particular set and everything, this is one of the few sets at the moment that can actually be re-engineered from missions. And everything, as time goes on, other sets will be able to interact with the system as well. But for this particular shield, it starts out at cap 3. You can re-roll that and everything. It reduces all energy damage to shields by 10%. Then you get that retaliatory coronal ejection, which... whenever your shields drop on a certain facing, it shoots plasma damage out in a cone in that direction. It can happen once every 30 seconds per individual shield facing. So it's a decent little thing to have. For your engines and everything, they are full ×2 and then speed, or SPD. And then the unique thing about these engines is you can use your ramming speed at 90% hull. And then they also have hull scraping, which is a variant of the shield scraping that you can get from Pilot. Then for our deflector, you get Control X, Drain X, and Shield Cap, so very basic stats there. You also have the Weapon Capacitor Dampening. Control abilities reduce foe outgoing damage by 9.1%. And then we have our Warp Core, which comes from our Bajoran ship, our Bajoran Interceptor, and everything. As far as the stats itself goes, at this level, it's a very basic core. And everything, give a little bit of energy to shields, reduces transwarp cooldown. The real strength here is going to be in the siphoning field, which to target is a -7 all power levels for 3 seconds, and to you get a buff of +7 all power levels for 3 seconds. And then with the Bajor 4-piece, you also get a -15 damage resist rating to the foe, plus 15 damage resist rating to yourself. To your target, you debuff them for almost 25% turn rate, and you buff yourself for 33% turn rate for 3 seconds. So, very potent as far as this goes. Let's take a look at our set bonuses. And everything. So it should be noted, for our 2-set bonus, since this is a phaser-based ship, our 2-set bonus is going to give us a 17.8% phaser damage boost. It is a Cat 1 boost, I believe. So then for our range modulation, this is the 3-set. It increases that drain on the warp core and the plasma coronal ejection from 2.5 kilometers 2 kilometers to 5 kilometers. So that gives you a little bit of breathing room, so you're not having to right on hug the target. And then the manipulative energy siphon field that we looked at a second ago, that gives the additional resistances and turn rate debuff to the foes. It's going to be the most disturbing thing to ever be on this camera. But anyways, I wanted to showcase those in game and everything so people can see. Oh, excuse me. Then for our devices, we have 4 slots on the ship as far as devices go. Now, we usually think of those as personal preference, but there are a couple of devices that we typically recommend. One in particular is the Subspace Field Modulator, which, whenever you activate it, it basically gives you a free neutronium worth of damage resistance across the board. And the other downside to the device is it also debuffs you for a minus 400 protonic damage resist rating. So there's not a lot of enemies that call on protonic damage, but there are enough of them and enough powers out there that it warrants making a mention of it. Then, some of the other devices you might like to consider could be something like Armor Catalyst, the Energy Amplifier batteries, the Particle Flood batteries, and everything. Gemini Hardpoints. Point being, you've got a lot of batteries, a lot of stuff you can definitely call on and everything. Now for our engineering consoles. For this particular ship, it is a 533 layout, and then, like all Miracle Worker ships, comes with a universal console slot. And the universal console slot is just like it sounds. It is truly a universal slot, meaning you could put any console that you want in there, whether it's a tactical, an engineer, or a science, or even a true universal console and everything. So if I wanted to, I could potentially have 6 engineering consoles on this ship, or 4 tactical, or 4 science. Now for this particular ship and everything, we made that an extra tactical console. Now all of our tactical consoles come from the Of Science Importance mission. These are the phaser relays, which will buff our phaser damage. Our universal console is also a tactical console and everything. So that is one thing that we do have. For our engineering consoles, we have the Quantum Phase Converter. This goes along with the Quantum Phase 3-piece, and we'll take a look at that in just a minute. Now, the big strength to this console being universal is it basically gives us the free equivalent of another phaser console in terms of tactical. So you've got a lot of phaser boosting going on with this particular ship. Then we have the Trillium Deplating from the Ragnarok mission. Now, this is basically a neutronium armor and a field generator console slammed into one thing, so it's going to give a nice chunk of damage resistance and a nice boost to your shield capacity. Then we have our Reinforced Armaments console. The real strength to this is the fact that it enables us to use the 2-piece bonus here, but also it's essentially an EPS console that you get for free. That's going to increase your power transfer and allow you to regen your power just a little bit faster. For our assimilated module, it gives us a nice chunk of crit chance and crit severity, and also gives a nice chunk of control expertise and everything. Then we have our 0-point conduit, which gives a decent bit of critical chance, as well as a bit of Drain X that comes from our Romulan reputation. Then, the item that I epicked out, I've not yet saved this on the build for Kirby, was the Temporal Disentanglement Suite console. Now, the reason we epicked this particular console out as our item is because you get a nice chunk of shields from it, and depending on how high your aux power is, you get a nice chunk of critical chance and critical severity. Now, alternatively, if you didn't want to epic this particular console, the other item that you could have picked for this particular build could have been something such as perhaps the Warp Core itself, or perhaps one of your Quantum Phase weapons, either
Personally,
the Torpedo
I would go
or the
for the
Beam.
weapon to get more bang for your buck with upgrading weapons as far as damage output.
You could. But anyways, as far as our equipment goes and everything, that's what we have. Whatnot. Let's take a look at the other set bonuses really quickly, because you do get some very nice set bonuses for having these. Then for our... Since we have the full 3-piece Quantum Phase stuff and everything, the real strength of the Quantum Phase items is they drain shields as their normal proc, instead of the subsystem offline effect. And for the 2-piece bonus, you get double the drain that you would normally get, and you also get plus 15 accuracy rating. It's going to offset that accuracy penalty to modes like Thaw and Scatter Volley, things like that. Then we also get our Quantum Destabilizing Beam, which is a very nasty phaser-based attack. Now, the numbers on this are going to be slightly distorted because we're technically on a ground map as I'm reading this, so the actual amount that you're going to get is going to be a heck of a lot higher than this if you're based in phaser. 10 kilometer range, 135 degree targeting arc, 2-minute recharge, dealing phaser damage per second for 10 seconds. Then to foes, -3, all power to subsystems. To you, you gain 3 power to all subsystems per second for 10 seconds. This skill can be boosted by your EPG and your Drain Expertise. And I believe we did say it's not in the tooltip, but it seems to be getting boosted by phaser damage
Yeah, the
as well.
actual phaser damage is being boosted by phaser consoles.
Yep. So, very potent bonuses and everything that we have here, as far as that goes. Now for our 2 set for our trilithium-based weapons. Take a look at this, then we'll look at our science consoles before moving on. For our 2 set bonus, we get 5% firing cycle haste and plus 15 flight speed. This is by having our Omni Beam and our reinforced armaments. This comes from the Beyond the Nexus mission. I still say that's the most disturbing crap ever on the camera. Anyway, that's what we have as far as the set bonuses and stuff goes. Now for our science consoles, we did have our temporal disentanglement suite, and this was the one that I epicked out for this particular go around. And everything, you could epic out a weapon if you wanted to. I just epicked this out because it was simplest for me to remember and everything. But anyways, for our temporal disentanglement suite, we touched base on it a second ago. Gives crit chance and severity based on aux power. Gives a nice chunk of bonus shield cap, which is always nice, and a little bit of shield resistance. Now the final 2 consoles that we have are the Domino console, that actually comes from the Bajoran Interceptor, and also the ablative salvage points that come with our ship itself. So let's take a quick look at those 2, and then we will finally move on. For our Domino console that comes from our particular our Bajoran Interceptor, it's plus 15% phaser damage and plus 20 accuracy rating. That is going to further offset firing mode penalties like Thaw and Scatter Volley. It's going to offset those accuracy penalties. Now this particular console Domino, what makes it so nasty is it gives plus 25% firing cycle haste for energy weapons. It gives plus 25% bonus all damage, that is a Cat 2 bonus. 25% recharge time for BOF powers, 100% recharge time for torpedo weapons, and if you defeat a foe, you get a plus 2-second duration to all effects that may only occur 10 times, and it lasts, or it's a 2-minute recharge, so potentially about 30 seconds for this console if you're just rapidly killing a lot of foes. And for our final console, this one actually comes with the Miracle Worker ship itself. This is the Ablative Salvage Points. It is a 10% cooldown reduction on hull healing bridge officer powers, plus 1% bonus experience and specialization XP that does stack with the other consoles. And it creates a salvage pod whenever you use it, and you can pick up the pods for temporary HP. Whenever you get close to the pod, it will tractor it into place, even if you don't have a tractor beam on the ship. For 15 seconds, dealing any damage creates a salvage pod at the foe's location, maximum of once per second. Picking up a salvage pod grants 2,500 temporary hit points for 60 seconds. So this can be a very nice console to play with and everything, but I know I'm going back and forth between the actual build and the game a lot, but there's some very technical stuff to go with some of these items that I wanted to explain for you guys. But that's what we have as far as equipment on the ship and everything. Hopefully you guys can kind of see what we're going for here and everything. And yet again, keep in mind, I can't oversell this enough, for lack of a better word coming to mind. Keep in mind, this universal console slot is truly a universal slot. You can use anything you want in that slot. You don't have to strictly use a tactical. That's just what I had for this particular build. Now, as far as our skills go, it's what I would consider a semi-standard build for us, kind of a jack-of-all-trades type thing. For captain, or not captain, for lieutenant rank powers, we have 2 points into improved hull and shield capacity each. That's going to give us some extra HP to play with our shields and our hull. We have 1 point into shield restoration and hull restoration each. It's a nice boost to our base healing. Then we have advanced energy weapon training. That's going to give us free damage to our energy weapons. We have 2 points into improved DPS flow, 1 point into impulse expertise. It's going to enable us to turn the ship easier, as well as enabling us to regen our power a bit quicker. 2 points into improved control X and drain expertise each. Everything that's going to enable us to play with some of our very nice powers this go around, including some of our drain effects and control powers. We have 3 points into our advanced targeting expertise. That's going to offset things like our accuracy penalty to fall, and things like that a bit more. Then for our advanced defensive maneuvering, that's going to make our ship harder to hit by giving us free defensive value. We have all 3 points into our hull plating for free across-the-board defense rating and everything, or damage resistance, I should say, instead of defense rating. 2 points into improved shield hardness. That's going to reduce damage we take to the shields. Then we have advanced weapon amplification and specialization. Everything that's free chance or free critical chance and severity just by having those on the ship. Now, we also have a point into defensive and offensive subsystem tuning each. That is free power that we're going to have on our ships just by having those selected. We have 3 points into our EPG and 3 points into our long-range target sensors. That's going to enable us to do more exotic-based damage, as well as also getting less weapon drop-off penalty from our weapons the farther we are from the target. Then you have your choice of either hull penetration or shield penetration and everything. As long as you have one of these, you're doing fairly good. You can actually make arguments for either one. There is no right or wrong answer here. It's just a matter of what you think would work best with your particular build. For our final 2 points, we have a point into Warp Core Potential. This is, again, free power just by having this active. Since you are a Romulan, you're not going to have as much power to draw from as regular KDF ships or regular Federation ships even. So in this case, we picked up a point.
Did it again.
I did it again. Dang it, Kirby. A point in Warp Core Efficiency. Everything. I think my brain's getting ahead of my mouth. Or my mouth ahead of my brain.
That's not a first.
No, it's not. It happens a lot. But, anyways, for our Warp Core Efficiency, we have this because that's going to give us more power into our systems at the lower power levels and everything, which is a very good thing to have for a Romulan, and everything especially. For our specializations, we went with the Miracle Worker primary and Strategist secondary. This is going to give us a lot of defensive value. There's a lot of very nice powers and everything to play with in the Miracle Worker tree, and as well as a lot of survival-based abilities in the Strategist area. Then for our Starship traits and everything, this is where we spent quite a bit of our EC at. This is where the biggest chunk of EC went. Now for our first trait, we have the Ablative Shell. Whenever this pops, it gives a decent heal over time effect, as well as temporary damage resistance rating. Then we also have Beam Barrage. This is a beam damage buff and everything while it is active. And this is our R&D trait. Now, we always like to assume that you've leveled at least one of the R&D crafting schools with your chosen character. In this case, we chose beams as the R&D crafting school. We assume that's what you've leveled. Then we have the beam training trait. This is a free trait that they give you, which buffs your beam damage by 5%. Then we have elusive for free defensive value, making our ship harder to hit. Then you have your career-specific trait and everything for engineers. If you are not an engineer, but you would like to use this build anyway, simply swap in your own career-specific trait, We went with engineering in this case because that's first and foremost what the builder actually defaults to is engineers, and because the person that actually requested this build is also an engineer. We also have our Fleet Coordinator trait. Everything, this is free damage based on how many people are in your party. You get 2% boosted damage based on how many people are in your party, including yourself, so up to a 10% boost, which is very nice to have. Then we have our Biotech patch, which improves the effectiveness of all of your hull healing abilities. It's a 20% boost. I know it doesn't say that in the builder, but in game it's a 20% boost, which is pretty huge. Then you have your Romulan Operative trait. This is something that is exclusive to Romulans and everything. It increases the critical hit chance and critical severity and decreases the cooldown of cloaking-based powers. So again, that is specific to Romulans. Federation and Klingon characters will not have access to this. Then we also have our final trait, which is our pattern recognition and everything. This will give a bit of defensive value and shield hardness that can stack up to 4 times while you're in combat. That is, what I think it's 1.5 for each, if I'm not mistaken. I can actually look in game at that really quickly, because if I could not brain fart for a moment. I have that around here somewhere. If I can scroll down through all this list, here it is. So yeah, it is 1.5 defensive rating per stack, 1.5% shield hardness per stack. So you're looking at 6% each, or 6 defense rating, 6% shield hardness. That's not bad. Then as far as our starship traits go, we have 3 of them this go around and everything. Then we have our unconventional tactics that actually comes from Strategist. Activating Brace for Impact increases your damage for a short period of time, and in addition to its normal effects. They finally have this in the builder and everything. That is going the extra mile. It improves the effectiveness of your captain and bridge officer heals. If you heal someone while they are above 90% maximum hull, they additionally gain a boost to maximum hull capacity for a short duration. And that comes from our Miracle Worker trait and everything, so that buffs your healing powers and everything, in addition to giving hull HP if somebody is healed above 90%. Then we have our Stay at Your Posts trait that actually comes with our ship. Activating an Engineering or Miracle Worker Bridge Officer ability will reduce the recharge time of tactical Bridge Officer abilities. The amount of cooldown reduction is increased if you are currently below half of your maximum hull. This may only occur once every few seconds. So, a very nice trait to have, as far as our starship traits go. For our space reputation traits, we have the advanced engines. This is going to enable us to turn the ship a lot easier and everything. That's my one major gripe with the Miracle Worker ships, is I do think they do need some kind of a bit of turn rate boost and everything, but this enables you to do that. We have advanced targeting systems for free critical severity, just by having this active. Then we have our Aux Power offense and everything, which gives us an increase to accuracy and damage based on Aux Power. And finally we have Precision for free critical hit chance while in space and everything, just by having this active. And for our active reputation powers, we have the Biomolecular Shield Generator. This is the little green ball you see people use in ISA and perhaps even CCA in some cases. And it regenerates a lot more of your shields. It increases your shield regen while you're inside, as well as giving a 22% damage reduction to the shields. Then you have your Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity. This is it's basically an AoE slow and physical damage dealer to the targets that are within the range of the power. Then we have our Deploy Sensor Interference platform. Now this particular little power is an "oh crap, I'm gonna die" button, something I definitely recommend for tanks. And basically what it does is it poofs up a little weapons platform that will taunt enemies to itself, until either the duration runs out or the platform is destroyed, whatever happens first. Then finally we have our quantum singularity manipulation. And the quantum singularity manipulation, it increases the science stats by 100 for the duration that it is active, and it also gives a temporary cloaking effect. Now, to get a lot of bang for your buck with your anti-time entanglement and some of the bridge officer powers we're going to look at in just a minute, what to do is pop all of your exotic-based buffs first, follow with quantum singularity manipulation, crack something like a gravity well off, and then fire your anti-time entanglement singularity, and it will do a heck of a lot more damage than it otherwise normally would. But that's what we have as far as our traits and our reputation-based powers. Now let's go to Bridge Officer seating. Now, for this particular ship and everything, you have a Lieutenant Commander Universal, Lieutenant Tactical / Miracle Worker, Commander Engineering / Miracle Worker, a Lieutenant Commander Engineering, and an Ensign Science seat. Now, for this particular ship and everything, we made the Lieutenant Commander Universal into a Science seat. For the first power, we have the Science Team 1. This is going to give a little bit of healing to our shields, as well as purging certain science-based debuffs like some nucleonic-based effects. Then we have Destabilizing Resonance Beam 1. This is an AoE debuff to the enemy, making them take more damage, and also dealing a bit of damage at the same time. I believe it's physical is the one this one deals. And then we have our Gravity Well 1. This is going to pull the targets to the location and deal some exotic-based damage to them as well. Then for our Lieutenant Tactical / Miracle Worker and everything, we went with a Torpedo Spread 1 to allow us to throw some torpedoes around, as well as a Fire at Will 2. Now, that's the one major gripe I really have against the Miracle Worker ships here, at least the engineering variant, is they really shortchange you in terms of tactical. Either you only have 2 tactical powers and you shortchange yourself there, or you shortchange yourself in science. So I'm not really a fan of the Bridge Officer layout on this one, though I can kind of understand why they went this route. But anyways, moving along, we have our Commander Engineering / Miracle Worker. We have an Engineering Team 1. This is going to heal the hull a bit, purging certain engineering-based debuffs, such as the Viral Matrix that the Iconians loves to throw around. Then we have the Reverse Shield Polarity. That's going to allow us to recharge our shields in a pinch, based on incoming damage. Then we also have our Narrow Sensor Bands 3. And what is so good about this is it allows us to increase damage and everything, the closer we are to the target and everything, up to a 6 kilometers out, and it's a pretty sizable boost at that and everything. So definitely one that I'm going to recommend. Then you have your Warp Bubble 3. I know it says 1 in the builder, they've still not fixed that little issue. Now the Warp Bubble, what is so great about it is it's a 4 kilometer AoE debuff. There is no hard upper limit to the amount of enemies that are affected and everything, as long as they're within 4 kilometers. It will basically cut their outgoing damage, their turn rate, and I believe it's their engines in half for the duration of this power. And it can be comboed with other abilities to approach a full-on complete shutdown. Now there is a note that I want to mention with this station, but I'll mention that in just a second. Now for our Lieutenant Commander Engineering, we went with a Emergency to Shields 1. This is going to allow some defensive power to the shields as well as damage reduction in that department. We have an Aux to Sith. This is going to be a nice damage reduction that can be kept up virtually all of the time and everything through the cooldown reduction that we have. Then we have our Emergency to Weapons 3, which is some weapon power as well as an increase in damage, which in turns for tanks is going to mean threat generation. Then for our Ensign Science, we have a Hazard Emitters 1. This is a heal over time effect that's going to also purge certain things like the Borg Plasma Fires. Now, a couple of things to note for this particular ship is that you're going to have a couple of what we call zero distance abilities. and everything. Those being the DRB and the gravity well. Which basically means as far as the enemy is concerned, you are right on top of them. Even if you fire the gravity well and, say, the DRB from the 10-kilometer range, then as far as the enemy is concerned, because the actual effect is right on top of them, you're on top of them as well, and they're going to kick out a lot more threat than normal abilities such as something like Fall may do. Now, the other thing that we did kind of want to mention is if you think you have enough defensive value in the ship already, if you think you're going to be fine without it, you could potentially swap the Warp Bubble out for an Exceed Rated Limits 3. Now, Exceed Rated Limits is a single target power that allows you to take advantage of some of your extra power, essentially. Everything. You know what? Let me actually just go ahead and bring the tooltip up and you guys can read it. Actually, it is. Let me do that. So, let me do that in game. Let's grab this officer here, and the Exceed Rated Limits 3, it gives plus 100% firing cycle haste for energy weapons. While it is active for the 10 seconds, set weapon power drain to 0. While active, you suffer 3,000 electrical damage every second, and -3 all power levels for 1 second. So, you gotta kind of be aware of that debuff that it puts on you as well. But this can be a very nasty power when you want to burst through something, especially if you're using your domino console and things like that. So, if you feel you're fine in the damage reducing area and in the defensive area, you could potentially consider this power. Likewise, if you further wanted to, you could potentially justify removing Thaw and replacing that with an attack pattern. So it is something to consider. We're not saying you have to do that, but it's something you could potentially do and still be just fine. But that's what we have as far as this goes. As far as our overall cost, you're looking at about 22,300,000 EC. So we didn't quite hit our 30 million, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And then total build time, you're looking at 15,000 dilithium in order to complete the build. So about 4 days build time, assuming only one character is refining dilithium per day. But, anyways, final comments, thoughts on the build?
And you've addressed, I mean, we discussed the options that you had talked about beforehand, so you mentioned everything I was going to say.
Yep. But, anyways, you've got quite a bit of flexibility with these Miracle Worker ships. They're very adaptable. I highly recommend them and everything. But, before I forget, I am going to go ahead and override that save. There we go. But, anyways, that's what we have for our budget build for this evening and whatnot. Moving along to the bugs corner. Yes, I am aware of the thing that they put in the patch notes. I already informed them about that. So, yeah. As far as the bugs corner, not really too awful much going on at the moment. We are potentially testing some stuff with the constable specialization still. I'm not really going to go into details on some of those bugs and everything, depending, because they could be potentially very, very busted. And, well,
Chris, yeah. I broke it.
But, and Kirby broke something. Go figure.
Well,
Go
we had talked
figure.
about this earlier today as well. I've been noticing in some of my breach runs that my quantum singularity manipulation would blink out and no longer be available. Which I'd never seen happen before. And it turns out it's happening when it seems to be happening when I activate sensor analysis. Which they're not supposed to lock each other out. Or sensor analysis is not supposed to lock out quantum singularity manipulation, so there seems to be something hinky going on there. Some more testing is needed,
Yep.
but yeah, so that's something we're looking into.
So yeah, if you guys are seeing something really weird like that going on, please, do let them know. Heck, pass the information on to us. We'll pass it along to them. That's some of the big stuff going on. I will be testing some of this stuff once perhaps some of the Victory is Live stuff actually does hit Tribble and everything. So hopefully it won't be broke too terribly. But okay, who am I kidding? I'm not going to break half the server, but
they'd be lucky if you broke half. And just so you know, guys, that the devs now have a drinking game. Every time Darkblade brings them a bug, they all drink.
Yep. So that is a fun little thing.
So keep that in mind when you send Blade bugs.
Yep. But anyway, that's a fun little thing. But that's what we have for the Bugs Corner for this evening. Coming up on our final segment of the evening, since there is no Artie this week, and everything, we have the Teacher's Corner. What do you got for us this week?
Fleet gear available from blank series, and so this week we're looking at things that are available from the Embassy. So definitely all the consoles and other gear, as well as other +1 goodies kind of things, like your extra active duty officer assignment slots and even bridge officers that are available from the Embassy. Show you where to get them and explain a little bit about them.
Yeah. Sounds pretty good. But anyways, folks, we will have a link to that in the notes for you all. If you've ever been curious about what all you could get from the Embassy and everything, definitely check out Teacher's video. But anyways, that's what we have this week for you guys and everything. But hopefully you've enjoyed our show and everything. Shout out to our good friends over at the Temporal Armada. Be sure to check those guys out. They're a very chill bunch. Put on quite a good show and everything. Also a shout out to our good friends over at the Kurtang Pirate Radio and everything. Very good bunch of people. Always a good selection of music going on and everything. And the party is there. But also, if you have any requests for budget builds and everything, feel free to let us know. Tonight's budget build actually did come at the request of a viewer and everything. Let us know what kind of a ship it is you have and everything, or what kind of ship you're wanting. Let us know as well, what kind of budget do you have to work with. Are we talking, maybe a bare bones budget? Are we talking more mid-range? Or are we talking, a full-on higher-end type of build and everything? Let us know as well, if maybe you think your gear and everything is in order and whatnot, but you think maybe it's your piloting. If I could just get that one little turn right, if I could just get that last little bit of turn out of my ship or something and everything, feel free to submit a video of your piloting to us on our website and everything. Get a brief little video clip showing us maybe you're in an ISA run or something, so we could kind of see where you're at and offer tips to improve in that department. If you have any bugs or anything, anything broken with the game, feel free to pass that along to these guys, pass it along to me and everything. I'll see to it that the devs actually get the information and everything. Feel free to go onto the forums, let them know, hey, this is what I'm seeing. There's a forum for the Xbox, one for the PS4, one for PC as well. Say, hey, this is what I'm seeing, this is what's going on. If you've got videos and screenshots, that's even better and everything. Makes my life and theirs a heck of a lot easier and everything. But you say they don't like bugs any more than you or I do, and if it's not reported, they're not going to know that they need to fix it. So Then, as well, if you've got any requests for the Teacher's Corner, feel free to let her know. She does take requests in that department. You know, maybe it's you just don't understand where to get this particular kind of item, or you don't understand how to use this particular kind of feature. Whatever it is, let her know. She may do a video over that. Also, if you have any requests for the RP Corner, feel free to let Artie know. He does take requests on that and everything. And, you know, it could be something as simple as maybe you just don't know as the DM how to handle a specific type of event, but your group wants to incorporate it into your session and everything. Feel free to let him know and maybe able to offer some tips on that. But for now, folks, this is the Pilot Review Show, and you're warping on out of here.
Bye!